Hi, welcome to my channel, Mostly Knitting. If you're a returning viewer, thank you so much for coming back. And if you're new here, I'm Tash, and this is a podcast where I talk mostly about the knitting that I've been doing, and I also put out regular tutorials. So it's Saturday the 5th of July, and I'm recording from Sydney, Australia. I'll start with a segment that I haven't done in a little while called Friend from the Vault, where I show you a knit that I made earlier, and I'm wearing it. This is Lapis Yoke by Hannah Fettig, and it's from a magazine called Knit Scene back in fall 2010, but you can actually purchase this pattern individually on Ravelry. So I knit this one in January 2011. This is my second version of it, and I knit it out of a yarn called Cascade Venezia worsted. That yarn is actually discontinued now, but it is a 70% merino, 30% silk blend, and I'm sure there's other yarns that have a similar base and weight. It's a really lovely sweater, and it's obviously held up really well. It does have a little bit of pilling, but because of the timing that I made it very fitted. Now I would probably make it, sort of a bit more oversized, and I also made it very long. So even having said that, I knit the 35 or 34 3/4 inch size. The gauge is meant to be 17 stitches over 4 inches, but I was getting 19 stitches. So that led to a bust of around 31 inches, which is 1 inch of negative ease for me. I actually think I knit it to 15 inches from the underarm down, but it has grown with the silk content, and it's actually now 16 inches. So it's very long. And at the time I was wearing my jeans very low waisted, so I sort of wanted it long to well cover it. So I could very easily, it's top down, so I could very easily rip it back and, back to where I started, because I had a lot of waist shaping as well, to where I started the decreases, and then just knit it down straight and a bit shorter. But it's always harder to go back and fix something than it is to start something new. So I guess I should see if I actually wear it. Like I'm wearing it today, and it's lovely and it's comfortable. It's really beautiful and soft and next to skin. So if I thought actually I might start wearing it a lot more if I redid it, then maybe I'd do that. But you never know. Low cut jeans will probably come back in again, and I'll be very happy to have this and be glad I didn't change it. So the sleeves are pretty long too. I think I knit them to 17 inches and they've grown to about 18, which is quite nice actually. I quite like long sleeves. And let me think what else. Oh, there are no short rows in this pattern. So it's got, it's knit top down, and it has these sorts of, it actually reminds me a little bit of some of Petite Knit's sort of yoked sweaters. It has these increases at these stages, but there's no short rows. So you can see the back is quite low. I think if you're going to add short rows, I wasn't really adding short rows to anything at the time. I didn't really even probably know that you could, or that it was an easy thing to do. But because of the design, I probably wouldn't want to add them here. I would probably add them just before I split for the sleeves, and have them come sort of around to the sort of halfway around the arms, and probably do maybe sort of 6 to 8 of them to raise the back just a little bit if I was to do it again. So yeah, look, it's a lovely sweater. As often I find with my Friend from the Vault segment, when I pull something out, sometimes it's something I wear all the time, and other times it's something that hasn't had a lot of wear. But yeah, as I've got this on now, I really like the color, and yeah, it's lovely and comfortable and soft, so I could see myself wearing it more. So this is my Friend from the Vault for the week, Lapis Yoke. It's the start of the school holidays now, and as a high school teacher, I have a little bit of time off. But before I start filling my calendar, I want to spend a little bit of time thinking about some of my routines. I lead a very busy life with a lot of commitments, and one of the things that I haven't been great about prioritizing is my skincare. Now, Foreo Sweden reached out to me a couple of months ago and offered to send me an FAQ 202 LED mask. And I thought actually that would be a really great opportunity for me to improve my skin and also create some structure around my skincare routine. So Foreo Sweden is very kindly sponsoring today's video. The FAQ 202 is a new generation LED mask. It's made out of this very lightweight, flexible silicone, and it's very easily adjusted with this strap at the back. You can just pull to tighten and pull out to release. And it's completely wireless, so you can move around the house freely. You're not connected to power at all, and it's very easily recharged with a USB cable. There are 8 different LED wavelengths to target different skin concerns, which you can cycle through just by pressing on the button here. But there are also some preset treatments that are available on the app, and that's what I usually do because then I can just set it and relax. Now I do the 15-minute anti-wrinkle treatment, and it just cycles through 3 different wavelengths, 5 minutes for each. And my daughter Alex also uses it, but she is more interested in the oil balancing for acne. So that's the treatment that she uses when she uses it. Foreo sells a range of skincare products, and they're having their birthday sale at the moment, so there are some great deals over on their website. If you use my link in the description below and the code Natasha35, you'll get an extra 30% off nearly all of the products that are listed on the website. And that's a stackable discount, so that's on top of any other existing discounts that are already listed. Thanks Foreo for sponsoring this video. I just have the one finished object this week, and it is the Oslo hat by Petite Knit, and I knit it out of Biche Bush, Le Cashmere and lamb's wool in the colorway dark green. So I'll show you up nice and close. So I held it double, and the hat weighs 76 grams. The yarn itself, you get a lot of yardage in the ball, so 248 meters for 50 grams. And it looks really thin, but when you actually, like when you knit it up and when you block it, it just puffs up. So there's a lot of air in it. So this is going to be an extremely warm hat. So I held it double. I still have quite a lot left over. So yeah, 2 balls was easily enough. But I think probably if I were to use this yarn again, I'd really like to try it with a silk mohair, because I think it would be really lovely in a pullover with your sort of standard light fingering and silk mohair. It'd make for a really warm but very lightweight and yeah, and beautiful jumper, and it is lovely and soft. So this is a little bit damp still because I only just finished it yesterday. So if I get a chance, I'll take a picture and pop that up there. But yeah, it's really, it's a great hat. Now I will say, I normally knit this hat on a 3.5mm needle, whether it's with a DK or a fingering and a mohair, but I found that just incredibly dense. So I started it on a 3.5 with 112 stitches, which is what I usually do, but I had to pull it out. It was way too tight and just really, really hard on the hands. So I restarted it on 104 stitches on a 4mm needle, but I probably could have even gone maybe 96 stitches on a 4.5mm needle, just because it is still so dense. It was actually starting to get a little bit hard on my hands. So, you know, my tip, if you're going to hold this double, I would suggest a 4.5mm needle, unless you're a particularly loose knitter, because the 4mm was pretty dense. But anyway, I'm really happy with the finished object. I should say this yarn was gifted to me by Erica from Yarnacopia. It's part of a collaboration. I'll just show you that yarn up nice and close so you can see it. So this is just one of the offerings. Yarnacopia has Biche Bush as their spotlight yarn company for July. Pre-orders aren't open yet, but they should be quite soon. So if you're not already on their newsletter, on the Yarnacopia newsletter, you might want to sign up there, and then you'll find out when pre-orders open. And yeah, I really like it. Very happy with that. So that's my one finished object for the week. Although I only have one finished object, I actually have 3 new works in progress this week, so I have a lot to share in this segment. I'll jump straight in with one of the new ones. These are some Sportweight socks. I'm using a pattern called the Sportweight Socks with Gusset Heel by Wendy Johnson. That pattern unfortunately is no longer available, but I had downloaded it when it was, so I actually have the PDF. And that's one thing I might recommend to you, even if there are free patterns on Ravelry, you might want to download them while they are still active, because they can either change from free to paid. So a lot of the Espace Tricot ones used to be free and they're now paid for patterns, or sometimes they just become unavailable. So anyway, even if you can't access this pattern, any other Sportweight pattern you could substitute. I'm just letting you know which one I'm doing. So I'll just show you this yarn. This is La Bien-Aimée Merino Sport in the colorway La Vie en Rose, and I bought this on D-Stash at a Knitters Guild retreat, I think last year maybe? Yeah, I think last year. And yeah, it's a beautiful color, really lovely pink, and I'm knitting that on a 2.5mm needle. These are for my mum, and I was actually, my mum requested a couple of pairs of socks, and I thought I'll go and have a look on Ravelry at, like, you know, just in terms of measurements from the previous ones that I've made her. And I realized that I've actually made my mum, in all the knitting that I've done, and I've made her shawls and scarves and various things like that, I've only made her one pair of proper socks. I've made her 2 pairs of skimmer socks pretty recently, but I've made her 1 pair of monkey socks, and that's it. And I don't know, like my mum loves my knitwear, she wears it all the time, but I must have had in my head that she wasn't really into socks, or I don't know. And yet I knew she really liked the skimmer ones. Anyway, when she requested a couple of pairs of socks, because she's going away somewhere quite cold for holidays soon, well not soon, but you know, coming up, I was so shocked that I only knit her 1 pair. So I was like, oh, got to get onto that. So I asked her if she wanted, because she's going somewhere quite cold, if she wanted 4-ply, 5-ply, or DK, like 8-ply. And she suggested 5-ply. So I already had this in stash. Anyway, she was over the other day. I tried them on her foot. I still have a little bit to go. Gosh, I love that color. Isn't that pretty? Such a pretty color. So yes, so I cast on 24 stitches, increased to 56, and then I'm just working my way up the foot now. And I think I have a little bit more to go before I start the gusset increases. So I might try them on her again. I tried them on her at that point. I think I have to do like a couple more inches, because the way these sorts of these socks work, you know, like even though it looks that long, once you put it on someone's foot and it stretches, it definitely shrinks. So, and I want to make sure I get this one right. I also asked her to trace out her foot, and I know the length of her foot, but she has tiny feet. I have like in sneakers US 9 feet, so pretty big, whereas my mum's are more like a US 6.5 sort of thing, you know, like 6.5. So yeah, I can't use my foot as a guide. So anyway, that's my one new work in progress. I do find though that with socks, even Sportweight socks, because I'm obviously always knitting them on a pretty dense gauge, this yarn I think has 320 meters. So it's not the lightest of Sportweight, but it's also not the heaviest either. So it is pretty dense on my hands. So that's one great portable project, and that I'm not on a massive rush, although it is winter here. I would like to get this done. More than anything though, I want to get it done right. So I've sort of, I'll get a little bit more, and then my mum comes over for dinner tomorrow. I'll get her to try them on again and just make sure that that I'm at the right point for starting the increases. So that's one new work in progress. My second new work in progress is technically the Ripple Bralette by Jessie Maed Designs, because that's the pattern that I purchased, but I want to make a camisole version of it. But unfortunately, at the time that I bought the bralette, which was only yesterday, I didn't realize that there actually already is a camisole version. So anyway, it doesn't matter. I bought the bralette. I'm not going to buy the camisole as well. I did take a look at the camisole version, and all of the gauge is the same. All the sizes seem to be like 1 inch up. And I think that means it's just an extra 6-stitch cast on. So that's actually the newer pattern. So I kind of wish I had bought that one anyway, because Jessie probably ironed out all the kinks from the original one and improved it for the second one, but it's fine. I bought the bralette. I also was watching Stephanie, because I was looking through projects on Ravelry. Should have done that before I bought the pattern. But all of Stephanie's ones are from the bralette pattern as well. She's made like 4 of them, and I was just sort of using hers as a bit of a gauge in terms of what size she made, etc. Anyway, I ended up casting on for the medium size because I'm using a smaller needle. Look at this yarn, it's so happy and bright. This yarn, I'll show you the yarn. This is Skein Sisters Fabulous Sock in the colorway Just Beach. And I just started this yesterday, so there's not a lot of progress on it. So I started with a medium size in the bralette number of stitch count. I have to go off that because that's the one I bought. And we'll see how we go. I went down 2 needle sizes to it's meant to be knit on a 3.5 millimeter needle, but I am knitting this on a 2.5 because I want it a little bit denser. I'd like to be able to wear this like a probably with an open like a collared shirt worn open over it, or as an underlay or whatever. So yeah, because I'm not sure that I would wear it just by itself. Who knows, maybe in summer I would. Oh, it's so pretty. Sorry, I'll show you up nice and close. Yep, so it's really pretty and happy colors. And because it's bottom up, you just, it's gonna be the same round and round and round until you sort of split. So this is quite a lot of knitting without any thinking. So this will be quite handy for me, both portable knitting and also just to be able to kind of knit while I'm walking or doing other things. So that's my second new cast on. My third new work in progress is a sweater called Sweater number 67 by Astrid Troland. And this is from yarn from a kit that was sent to me by Unravelled. And the yarn itself is Uno, which is this really lovely alpaca blend, and then Indicita, which is this brushed alpaca 14 ply. So this is like the trim, and this is the main body of the sweater. And I'd already swatched on a 5mm and a 5.5mm. So the gauge for the Unravelled kit is 17 stitches over 4 inches. The gauge for the sweater itself on Ravelry with a different yarn, with the Biche Bouche Le Gros lamb's wool, is 15 stitches. So I think Unravelled have, they've got a license to use this pattern, but to use it with their yarn, they've got a slightly different gauge. So the way that they've put it out is the same pattern, the same instructions, but obviously with smaller sizes because the gauge is tighter. So this is my 6mm swatch. So I already did it on a 5, a 5.5. This is my 6mm, which I think is still totally fine. And it's going to be lovely and warm, but I got 18 stitches. So my gauge was way too tight on the 5 and the 5.5, like sort of 20 and 19 stitches. 18 stitches is close enough to the 17 that I'll just I can still make the extra small size, and it will be oversized, but maybe not quite as oversized. But yes, I'll be using the 6mm needles. Now, the way the pattern's written, you actually cast on, do the ribbing, and then you come back later and pick up the stitches and do the trim. Now, I thought I was being really clever and did a provisional cast on, and then when I picked up the stitches afterwards and I went to do because you're meant to do like a couple of rows of 2x2 ribbing for the trim. When you do that, all of your stitches are like, with a provisional cast on, they're all half a stitch off. So the 2x2 ribbing, everything was gonna like not line up nicely. So I ended up just picking it up, knitting one row around, this is with the pink, knitting one row around and then binding off. But I just didn't really love it. I'll show you. It just kind of, I don't know, it looks okay, but I just wasn't sure. So I'll pop it on so you can sort of see. It's okay, but it's just a much shorter than was intended in the pattern. So I thought, look, rather than sort of take what I'm okay with and just keep going, I thought, why don't I try a different approach, and why don't I try doing because it's 2x2 rib around the neck, why don't I try a Judy's Magic cast on with the pink. So actually start with the pink and Judy's Magic cast on, turn it into a 2x2 ribbing. I'll show you up close, like that. And then switch to the Uno. And I think I like that better. Like, I like the slightly thicker version. Just to show you the two. I'm gonna really try. I've got so many needles going out. I'll try. I'll put them up the same way. Can you see how this one's quite thin and this one's quite a bit thicker? I think I like the thicker version. I'll try that on just quickly. So before I've finished the 2x2 ribbing in the grey, but before I got any further, I thought I'll see if I can get that on without losing stitches. I think I like that a little bit better, like a slightly thicker trim. So that worked quite well. Judy's Magic cast on, where you do the cast on, do one round of knits, and then you do a row of alternating. So you knit one from the front, 2 purls from the back, knit 2 from the front, etc. So you don't actually have to manually manipulate the stitches. So I really like that version. And then I think I did one more round of 2x2 rib, and then I'm ready to go down the sweater. And this is going to be a great quick sweater at an 18 stitch, even at my gauge of 18 stitches. It's going to go, oh gosh, it's going to go really quickly. I'd love to hear in the comments which one you prefer. I think I like this one already. So, but I've just put it on pause. I thought I'll put it on pause until I record and, get an opinion from the group, what you think. The other thing that I'm going to change in the pattern is it's got a lot of garter across the chest and like garter, like a moving garter panel around the sleeve. So there's like a chart and everything. I actually really want this to be a bit of a mindless knit. And I'm not sure that I really love the garter across the chest anyway, so I think I'm just going to do the whole thing in stockinette. The yarn is lovely and soft, and I also want it to be a quick sweater. It's winter here, it's cold. I'd love to be able to, I probably wouldn't be able to wear it in Bendigo, I probably wouldn't get it done by then, but you never know, it all just depends. I sort of spread myself so thinly amongst my whips. If I focus on one thing, I might actually get it done. So anyway, that's where I'm up to with that It's a lovely pattern. I've got, you know, like yeah, I think it'll be pretty quick actually. Maybe if I just focus on that instead of some of the other things. But that, even though it's portable right now because it's very small, and then there'll be some increases or whatever, probably raglan. I haven't actually read that far through the pattern, but probably raglan increases. Even if it wasn't, I could do that because I'm changing everything anyway. And then it will be portable for a little while, but then it won't be for long. So, and I do like to have my portable knitting. So anyway, that's my last new work in progress. And yeah, we'll see how far I get by the time I record next. I've made some good progress on my other whips. I'll start with my version of the Rose Ophelia that I'm knitting out of white gum wool 10 ply in the colorway Natural. That's actually disconnected now because I've finished the back decreases. So I'll just show you where that is up to. So I had gotten up to this point earlier, and then this is where, this is one side of the fully fashioned decreases. That must be, I think that's the right leaning ones. And then this one is the left leaning ones, just there. And so I've bound off. And then after that, I've got the front on a cable ready to go. So I need to connect that up, knit up the armhole, and then that's where I actually need to start paying a little bit more attention in terms of where I'm going to split for the neckline, working up these decreases here, and then also working where I actually have to fold over the front, because the back is sort of comes like down a bit, so the front actually needs to fold over a little bit. So that will take a little bit of math and a little bit of preparation. So it's probably a good thing that I'm actually going to be working on this in the holidays, when I can actually sort of stop and pause and have a little think about it. So that's the front section, and then the back has this really lovely, I mean, the yarn is just absolutely beautiful. It's so soft and this fabulous stitch definition. Sorry, it is the weekend here, so there's going to be lots of background noise of, you know, breakfast being cooked and all sorts of things. So yeah, sorry if that's distracting. Hopefully I've got a directional mic, so hopefully it's mostly just picking up what I'm saying and not too much of the food being cooked in the kitchen. My next work in progress is the Chrysler top by Pernille Larsen, and I'm knitting this out of Knitting for Olive pure silk in the colorway Blood Orange. And I think I've just done a few rows on that. I'm making some decent progress. It's on a 2.5mm needle, right? So it's going to take a while. I'm knitting the smallest size. It's extremely, even though it looks like tiny, looks like a beanie almost, right? Look, it actually does look like a hat. That's super, super stretchy. It is, I'll just show you nice and close. That is a modification of a half twisted rib. I don't even know if it has a name actually, where one row is a half twisted rib, you twist the knits regular purls, and then the next row is just a knit one purl one. So I think I'm about 3.5 inches, but you can't really, I'm not going to pull on it because it's going to come off the needles, but I think I'll have to definitely try it on and then measure it stretched over my body, because even though it might be 3.5 inches now, when I actually stretch it over my body, that might come to 3 inches. So I'm still a long way off with that one, but that's obviously a really nice, easy, portable knitting. But I do have to look a little bit more at this one. I always can tell very quickly whether I'm on just a knit purl row, not twisting, because I've got it on, I can tell, like this is just a regular knit row, and then I put it on that little section there. This is my little twice shared sheet marker. I put it on that middle one when I'm on the row where I'm twisting. You don't have to have special markers, but some kind of system, maybe 2 different colored locking stitch markers, and then you switch from, you know, red to green. But you need to have something, well, you don't need to, but it helps to have something where you can just look at it really quickly and you know straight away, because it is a little bit hard in this fabric to tell if you've just been, like, if you're on a twist row or a knit row. Anyway, it's coming along. I'm not in any rush on this. It's, you know, winter here, so it'll get done with it, but it'll be really nice to just a little bit at a time, without really paying attention to it or focusing on it, just all of a sudden have it up to here, and then, you know, it's almost done. So that's, yeah, that's Chrysler top. And that's in the book, a book that I got it on Kindle, but a Knitting for Olive book. I don't usually have 2 pairs of socks on the needles, but I really wanted to start that pair for my mum. But I should show you that I am still working on the Comfort Core socks by Summer Lee. I must have got to a point last week where I hadn't already cast on all my other new works in progress, but everything else with it was either blocking or at a tricky point, and I just wanted some mindless knitting, so I cast on for the second version. But then now I feel like if I'm going to work on socks, I want to work on the ones for my mum. So these are going to go into hibernation, or they're more sort of like kind of like emergency knitting where if I have nothing else at all to work on. But yes, that's the Comfort Core Socks by Summer Lee in a whole bunch of leftover yarn. So it's probably not that interesting, but I did want to show you that it's not completely forgotten, but it will definitely get put aside for now while I work on socks for my mum, because I don't really like working on, I guess you sort of, maybe I should officially put them into hibernation so that, you know, I'll work on those ones and I'll come back to these ones. Otherwise, they're still sort of showing up on my Ravelry page and it's just sort of still in my consciousness. So I might just put them away and put it into hibernation for now until I finish a couple of pairs for my mum. I have 3 more garment works in progress to share, and the one that I've got on at the moment is Jules Genser by Sandnes Garn, and I'm knitting it out of Knitting for Olive soft silk mohair in the colorway Elderflower. It's probably closer to this color than when I put it up really close. It looks a lot more yellow, but it is a yellow, but a soft yellow. So I finished the first sleeve and I'm knitting the smallest size, and I'm just, like, you pretty much knit straight down to the cuff, and then you do, you halve your stitches with knit 2 together all the way around. So it gets down to a very small stitch count for some twisted rib. Now I'm knitting this on a 3mm needle. The ribbing is on a 2.5mm needle. And I initially did the bind off on a 3mm needle, but it was so tight, I couldn't even get my hand through it. So, and usually I bind off pretty loosely, but obviously with the inflexibility of the soft silk mohair, the twisted rib, it just 3mm needles, it wasn't going to happen. So I unpicked that 1 stitch at a time, and that is very difficult with mohair. Like, you know, you can't even really pull the yarn out very easily. You sort of pull it, and then I needed to get like a tapestry needle to actually almost sort of rip the stitch away from the next one. So that took a while. And I did a sewn bind off where you just get the needle, you go 2 stitches purlwise, 1 stitch knitwise, take it off, 2 purlwise, 1 knitwise, take it off. I did a little video of it if anybody wants to see it, just in case. So I'll obviously do the same for the other sleeve. I actually didn't do that for the bottom, but for whatever reason that seems to be okay. Maybe just because of I don't know why actually. Anyway, doesn't matter. This is okay. This is still very inflexible, but with such a small stitch count for the sleeves, it just didn't work at all. So this sleeve is ready to go, but I think even though obviously technically I know exactly what I need to do and it's super easy because there's no decreases at all, I'm gonna save this one and take it to Bendigo because I think this is great travel knitting. And also it's like, yeah, I mean, it's a great throw over. It is nice and warm and light. So, you know, it'd be great actually if I finish it at Bendigo. Although I'm not very good at estimating how much time things take, but because there is still, you know, it's over 100 rows from here to here, and then there's about 20 rows of ribbing. So I have it written down so that like I put these little markers along the way so that I didn't have to keep track, and I've got it on my Ravelry page so I know exactly what I'm doing the next time. So anyway, that's Jules Genser by Sandnes Garn. My next work in progress is the CPO5 V-neck by Christina Girlanda, and I'm knitting that out of Cardiff Cashmere Prime in the colorway Moe's Held Double. This yarn was gifted to me as part of a collaboration with Yarnacopia, and yeah, it's just taken me a little while to get through this with all my other works in progress, but also I really want to make sure that everything is right. So I've been doing a lot of, you know, knit a bit, block, knit a bit, block. So I'd already done the V-neck, and then I've started doing the sleeves, but I just blocked it, and look, it took, I don't know, like 2 hours to dry. It was so quick because it's just so soft and light and airy, but I just wanted to get the right kind of length before I started the cuff, and it has actually grown quite a bit. So it's sort of grown down in the body, and also the sleeve has also grown from these 2 markers here were 12 inches and now they're 13 inches. So it's definitely grown. So I'm glad I did that, and also the rest of it, because the rest of it grew, that sort of all brought it down. The yarn, the pattern itself is meant to have a 16 stitch gauge. I'm getting 19 stitches. I did sort of extend the raglan down a little bit to make it, I think it's about 33 inches at the moment. The pattern itself is meant to actually, where you actually sort of increase out for the sleeves and make it sort of a bit more balloony, but I didn't really want to do that. I thought just straight is fine. This, I'm trying to think how many stitches have I got on this. I think I've got 54 stitches. So that feels like enough at this gauge where it's not tight on my, not tight at all on my arms, but it's not big and voluminous. But I'm actually at the point now where I think I'm almost ready to, like, I don't really want it much longer. So I'm really glad I blocked it at this point. So then after I finish this sleeve, I'll come back and finish the body, and there's actually not a lot on the body to go either. And then I'll do the second sleeve. And then I might even, if I get this ready, I might make this my other Bendigo travel project, because it's super, super light. It weighs almost nothing. Like one ball of this is 25 grams. So yeah, like and it will obviously squish down. So it's quite handy for packing, and you know, quite easy also as well. Like I'm not doing any increases or decreases. It's get to 54 stitches and I'm going straight down. So there's not really any thought either. And when I get to the second sleeve, I'll do it the same as the first. So yeah, oh my gosh, this is so heavenly soft. It is just amazing. It's so beautiful and soft on the body. So yep, I do want to get this one done because I'd like to start wearing it. My last work in progress in this whip marathon is the Eva Cardigan by Petite Knit, and I'm knitting it out of Madeline Tosh Alpaca Sport in the colorway Sea Glass, which is this gorgeous green color. And I've just done the button band. So I've got the sleeve to a certain point, and then I just put that on holders, and I thought I'd do the button band because then that will help sort of me work out how long I want the sleeves to be. So I've done the button band and I've just blocked it. This is just dried overnight. It did dry pretty quickly. So let me see, where are the buttonholes? There's the top buttonhole. So it's obviously got plenty of room. I'm getting gauge, which is 20 stitches over 4 inches on a 4mm needle. And then I did the button band on a 3.5mm. And I'm knitting the smallest size, whatever that is, like maybe 39 inches, I don't know, I'll put it down below. So I've still got this sleeve to finish, but now that I've blocked it, that has definitely grown, and there's not a lot, there's not a lot left to go actually. So again, this sleeve almost finished. I'll get that one done. I don't know that I'll be able to wait to take this to Bendigo. I certainly don't need 3 sweaters that just need 1 sleeve. That would be a little bit silly. So I might actually try and get this one. I don't know, the order, I am starting to get a little bit overwhelmed in terms of which one do I go to next. But this one's probably the closest to being done, I guess. Particularly when I know that Jules Genser and maybe CPO5 I'm going to take to Bendigo. So yeah, I just feel like I'm starting to get a little bit overwhelmed. So I probably do need to get this one off the needle. So yeah, once I get this sleeve done, then I'm sorted. And buttons, I mean, obviously I can wear this without buttons, but I do want to be able to button it. It's just such a lovely, it looks really, really nice. So it's all been, I mean, I actually even, when I blocked it last night, because I'd already blocked it before, then I did the band, and then I just sort of blocked the band bit. So it will, I'll give it a final block once it's completely done. But yeah, this is gonna be so nice. And I love this bright, happy color. So yes, that's it for my works in progress. Moving on to acquisitions and plans. I just bought the one pattern for myself. That was the Ripple Bralette by Jessie Maed Designs. So that's the only pattern acquisition that has come into my possession. But I also bought a pattern and some yarn for a friend who's in Germany. She's just had a really bad health diagnosis, and she is a knitter and just hasn't done a lot of knitting for a while. And yeah, and we've been talking about it, and she was saying how she wanted to get back into knitting. So I was planning to send her an unraveled blanket kit, but they're out of stock at the moment. So, I was scratching my head thinking, what would she like to knit that isn't going to take too much brain space, but is going to be really just enjoyable and meditative for her. And I thought about the Sophie shawl that I just made. Now I made that out of Cardiff cashmere in the lightweight pure cashmere and the prime held together. And that was beautiful. It was actually, it's an easy pattern, but really lovely and soft. So I thought that would be a really nice thing to send her. So I sent her some Cardiff prime, but I thought actually instead of the light version, I sent her the classic, because that would just be a little bit thicker, go a little bit quicker, and maybe make a full Sophie shawl version. So, and I chose the colorway Gospel. I was going to choose Moe's because she's got beautiful blue eyes, but I actually have already made her a blue shawl before. So I thought, and I think she likes purple. I hope, it's always hard when you're buying yarn for another person, and I wanted it to be a surprise. Anyway, I just ordered it from a yarn store in Germany so that it would hopefully get to her quickly. So I chose the colour Gospel, so the Prime and the Classic, and some needles as well, just you know, because she's just moved recently, she may not have all of her needles handy. So yeah, hopefully that will come early next week. So I guess it's a purchase, but it's not an acquisition into my stash. Oh, and I bought her the Sophie Shawl pattern. I don't actually own that pattern myself, I have the scarf, but I figured out pretty much roughly what you need to do. But I thought, given that I'm giving her the yarn for the shawl pattern, I'll gift her the shawl pattern on Ravelry so that she's got that, you know, kind of like her own little kit, you know, the pattern, the needles, the yarn. Hopefully it will arrive soon. Actually, and one other good thing is you don't even need to wind anything with the Cardiff balls. They're already in a little ball. So everything should be hopefully ready to go. Yeah, and I just hope it arrives soon next week. So that's my acquisitions for the week. On to what has caught my eye. There's quite a few patterns this week actually. One of them is the Lustre Tee by Irene Lin. I haven't actually made anything by this designer, but there's a number of her patterns that are in my favorites and what has caught my eye. So, you know, I think I should probably get to one of her designs sooner rather than later. But this one caught my eye. It's knit out of a Sportweight yarn, and it's a Gepard Garn, what is it, Horse Silk, which is a linen silk blend, and it's knit at a 22 stitch gauge. It's got some really cute stripes. It's not a yarn that is easily accessible here in Australia, so, and I'd really like to try it. I think it's one of the yarns that's used in the Soul blouse by Agio Knit, so I definitely would like to try it, but it's not a yarn that you can get really easily. So that's something that has caught my eye, and I'd either have to figure out a way to access that yarn or look for a substitute. The next top on my list is the Hope Top by Gudrun Fessel, and that is knit at a 26 stitch gauge. And I think something like knitting for olive cotton merino or pure silk would look really nice for that top. I just really like the edging. It looks really, really pretty. And along that line, the other one that sort of reminds me of that is the Winnie Top by Lily Kate France. And that is knit out of Cashmere, Cardiff Cashmere Classic. And it's actually knit on a 3.5mm needle at a 21.5 stitch gauge. Now on that needle, I get closer to a 23 stitch gauge, but then for me, that would probably work as well because it would probably shorten my row gauge and raise that V just a little bit. I do like a reasonably deep V, but that's probably just a tiny little bit too deep. Now that one, you actually have to add the edging later, which I could see that would be a bit of a pain, but you never know. It does look really, really pretty and obviously a beautiful soft yarn. So that's one that has caught my eye, and two more tops actually. The Gumnut Tee by Jane Ball. I don't know if that's how you say it, B-A-L-L-E. That top has actually been out for a little while, but I just saw, and it's mosaic knitting on a 26 stitch gauge with a main color and two contrast colors. But I just saw on her podcast recently, Mindful Making, she did a one color version of it, and that looked really pretty as well. So you could do it either as with one color, or you could do it with a number of colors. So yeah, and if you haven't watched Mindful Making before, she has a really lovely podcast. She is a Dane who lived in Australia for a long time and has just moved back to Denmark. And the last top that I wanted to mention is the Ivy Top by Petite Knit. You've probably already seen this one, but it's caught my eye as well. It's knit at a larger gauge. It actually reminds me a lot of the Sabai top, so around a 20 stitch gauge. You could knit Sandnes Garn it out of Sandnes Garn Lena or the Tin Lena held double. And yeah, it looks nice, but you know, like, I don't know. Even though I can knit the Sabai top, I quite like trying different patterns. So, although there are ones where I've made multiples of, but I do like the look of this Ivy top. I think it looks like quite a sweet, simple top, and obviously a very easy knit in mostly stockinette. I already have some Lena in stash, so I could use that. Yeah, so I probably don't need to buy stash for that one, but that has caught my eye. Two more patterns that have caught my eye. One is the Curiosity Hat by Tori Yu. Now this is knit out of a Sportweight yarn, and it's sort of similar to the muscle brain construction in that you have this long tube, but it's got a really lovely seed stitch, broken seed stitch, I think it's called. Now I saw this hat for the first time on Ash from Smash Knits, and her version looks fantastic. And I think that is really down to the yarn that she chose. What she chose was the base yarn, so you've got like a plain yarn, and then you don't have to, but like the way it's sort of designed is a plain yarn and then a variegated yarn. And the variegated yarn has a much darker hue. Like if you had any of the light color in it, it just wouldn't stand out as much. So I think you have to be very careful in your choice of yarn to make sure that like let's say you had like a cream sort of base, that you don't have cream flecks or cream stretches in your variegated. You want it sort of all with like a pink or an orange or a blue or something, like a different, yeah, not having any cream sections, or it just wouldn't have the same look. And also, if you're not watching Ash from Smash Knits, she has some really beautiful projects, so I would go check her out. So I guess that's another podcaster that's caught my eye too. She's yeah, really lovely makes, and yeah, great podcast. Last thing that has caught my eye is a dress, actually. I'm not sure if and when I'll make it, but and it's been around for a little while. It's the All Good dress by Magdalena Parker, and that's knit out of Knitting for Olive Merino at a 28 stitch gauge, and it uses 2,250 meters for the smallest size. So that's 9 balls. So it's really caught my eye. When I look at it, I sort of think, you know, I wish I kind of had a knitting machine because it's just so much stockinette. But it would be a really great, kind of reminds me of sort of, you know, if you have a project that just sort of sits by the couch and you can just go round and round and round, at least once you've got the yoke done, you just go round and round and round for the rest of the body. It has caught my eye. I'm not sure at what point I would make it, but yeah, I reckon it's on my one-day list for sure. And I've knit a lot of dresses before, so, but this is a lot of knitting. Mind you, I've got the Milady's dress on my list, and I still need to make that. I do have, yeah, I have a few things on my list, but they all get sort of jumbled around as to what's going to come next. But I do already have the yarn for the Milady's dress, where I don't have the yarn for the All Good dress. So, and obviously that's even a lot more knitting because there's sleeves and everything. So anyway, that's enough on that. That's what has caught my eye this week. Quite a few patterns, a lot of tops and things. But yes, they're ones actually that I could sort of see myself, especially the tops, they just can go so quickly. So I could see that myself making them, some of them sooner rather than later. That's it for the knitting content this week. My next podcast will probably be in about 10 days time before I leave for Bendigo. So if you're leaving me now, thank you so much for being here, and I hope you'll be back in 10 days. If you haven't subscribed already, that would be great if you could do that, because then you'll just have me pop up in your feed when I put another video out. Moving on to my personal stuff, it's been a busy last week or so. I've had a concert for my son Zach, and there was crazy storms that night. We had a tree down in our road. We actually couldn't get out, and our daughter Mia was coming home and she couldn't get in. So thankfully we were able to swap cars, and by the time we got back from the concert, because he was performing in the concert, so we really needed to get there. So it was just fortuitous. It was the kind of weather where everybody should have just been indoors, but anyway, he needed to perform, it was a school thing, so we got there and got home safely. But yeah, I've been really happy to have a treadmill in this kind of weather, because it's just been non-stop rain. Although it is actually really beautiful today, and I should be able to get out for a walk this afternoon. Yeah, things have calmed down a little bit now. Anyway, enough about the weather. I mentioned last podcast that I was doing this school wellbeing day knitting group at my son's school, and yeah, that was last Wednesday. Yeah, and it went really well. It was so fun. There were 9. They were actually all girls there, and yeah, they were really into it. It was I put some pictures of, like, I had everything all set up. I brought a bunch of my knitted items in, and we just were knitting garter stitch because most of them had never knit before. But yeah, it was really fun, and I do know that it really helps people if they ever pick up knitting later in life, if they've done a little bit beforehand. I would have loved to have, you know, spent more time there, but I had to get back to work. So anyway, that happened. I finished school for the term, but I do have, I'm teaching at the yarn shop tomorrow at Skein Sisters. My classes from when I was sick 2 weeks ago got rescheduled to tomorrow. So that's 2 classes tomorrow. And then I have a week-long holiday program at my school for the Year 12 students, which my son is going to. And my friend Amy's also teaching at. So yeah, it'll be really busy first week. So it's definitely not a holiday yet for me, but it is different. So, and I should be able to take, that was actually one of the reasons I cast on the Ripple camisole, because, you know, when I'm wandering around helping kids, I usually, I can have my sort of knitting in my hand, or when it's their sort of downtime, it'd be nice to have something like that I can actually sort of just get a little bit of progress on in that time. I mean, obviously when I'm teaching, and there's like a lot of very active time, but there's also little bits of downtime in between. So that's next week. Then the week after that, the second week, because I get 3 weeks break, the second week is Bendigo. I'll be leaving on Thursday to go to Bendigo, meeting up with my friend Beck in Melbourne, and then we'll catch the train out and spend a few days there. So super excited about that. And then the third week I'll be home, and that's when I'll be doing sort of some of my other, like obviously just admin and jobs, but also I plan to, like I really am committed to warping up the loom. So I want to get ready to stay, not necessarily finish a weaving project, but have it like as a work in progress. So warping up the loom, I've got a huge pile of mending to do. So, and also like hemming jeans and all that sort of stuff. I want to get to that. And I would like to start to create have that as part of my, like have it set up for next term, where that's sort of something that I grab out of that basket every week, but I need to kind of get it all in one place and get it organized. So I'll do that these holidays as well. And the other thing that I'm determined to do is to finish my Babylon leather bag. Alex has made 3 bags already. Actually, I need to do a little segment with her showing off her finished 3rd bag. It's so pretty, this little pink Kelly bag. But yes, so that's my commitment, to finish my Babylon leather bag. And actually, my husband Paul he's got his work in progress as well. He's got a larger bag. So they're my sort of big commitments for the holidays. But of course, like, you know, there's so many things that I want to do. I remember that I've got to share this with you actually. I sent it to my daughter Mia, because I do have a tendency to think there's more hours in the day than there really are, and to have bigger plans than I actually have time for. And I saw this meme. I'm just going to read it out to you if you don't mind. It shocked me to learn that grabbing coffee, putting on my jacket, walking to the car, setting up my GPS, and backing out of my driveway took 10 minutes, not 0 minutes, which is the time I always allotted. And yeah, that is, I have that in my head where I'm like, I need to leave the house at 10 a.m. But actually really I need to leave at 10:15, but I pretend to myself that I need to leave at 10, because I know that means I won't actually get out of the door until 10:15 or whatever it is, right? It's always going to take me longer than I think. But yeah, that made me laugh when I saw that. And I think my daughter Mia said that apparently people with ADHD, they have this sort of like a dysmorphia around time, just not actually having a full understanding of how, or just a real appreciation of how long things actually take. And yeah, I definitely think that's something that I struggle with. Last little thing that I wanted to share is what I've been watching. I've been watching F1 on Netflix. My husband and I think we're into our 4th season now. In the last few weeks, we've been kind of binging them in the evenings, because they're such easy potato chippy, and you're sort of, you know, watching to see who's going to win or what's going to happen. It's all drama. So I very intentionally, there's 7 seasons, 7 years of, but now I feel like I want to watch the current races, but I can't watch them until I have watched all of these seasons, so that I don't get spoiled, which is silly. But it's been really enjoyable, and I can see that would be the kind of thing that I could totally, I mean, I do enjoy watching sport, so particularly because I've always got my knitting, so it's not like I'm just sitting there watching. So anyway, that's been really good. If you've never watched F1, and like, I never really thought I'd be that into motor racing, but it is actually, you know, Formula One is quite, it's quite its own thing. And yeah, it's very exciting. So I've been watching that. And the other thing is I discovered that The Great British Sewing Bee is on binge. And I've watched a few seasons of that in the early days when I was able to get it on Foxtel, gosh, you know, a decade ago, at least 10 years ago. And I always like had trouble watching the current seasons because they weren't, you know, I just couldn't access them. But with now all the different streaming services, it's actually available on binge in Australia anyway. So I've just started watching, I think it must have been a season that I never actually got to see, maybe season 3. So yeah, I'm really enjoying that at the moment. And I don't know who's won from any of the past seasons, except for obviously Tilly from the first one. And I think she was the first one. I don't even know if she won actually. Anyway, I do remember Tilly. And Lauren from Guthrie and Garni, I know she was on it. So I've watched definitely the one that, I think they were in the same one. Anyway, I'm really rambling now. I just thought I'd share that if you don't already know, if you're not already watching them, they are really fun. And that's kind of sparking my sewing interest as well too. So, right, that's it. Time to go. It'll take me forever to edit this. Thanks so much for being here. And yeah, I'll be back probably in about 10 days, maybe the Wednesday the 16th, I think, right before I go to Bendigo. Okay, hope everyone's enjoying their knitting and I'll see you then.